don't you put the harmonium nicely? Welcome everybody. Our live stream on YouTube, Living in Bliss. We're signing in from Bliss Fuengirola in Spain. Our Bhaktivedanta lives in Sound Society Center. Today we're going to discuss the shloka, or a verse from the Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is, translated and commented upon by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, our spiritual master, as you can see here. This is Srila Prabhupada. And we're reading from the 15th chapter, text number 15. Sarvasya chaham hridi sanivishto
Sarvasya chaham hridi sanivishto
Mata smriti jnanam apohanam cha
Matta smriti jnanam apohanam cha
Vedaischa sarvairaham eva vedyo
Vedaischa sarvairaham eva vedyo
Vedanta krit Vedanta vit eva chaham
Vedanta krit Vedavit eva chaham Sarvasya chaham hridi sanivishto
Sarvasya chaham hridi sanivishto
Matta smriti jnanam apohanam cha
Mata smriti jnanam apohanam cha
Vedaischa sarvairaham eva vedya
Vedascha sarvairaham eva vedyo
Vedanta krit Vedavit eva chaham
Vedanta krit Vedavit eva chaham
Sarvasya chaham hridi sanivishto
Sarvasya chaham hridi sanivishto
Mata smriti janam apohanam cha
Mata smriti jnanam apohanam cha
Vedaicha sarvairaham eva vedyo
Vedascha sarvairaham eva vedyo
Vedanta grid vedavit eva chaham
Vedanta krit Vedavit eva chaham
Sarvasya chaham hridi sanivishto
Sarvasya chaham hridi sanivishto
Mata smriti janam apoham cha
Mata smriti jnanam apohanam cha
Vedascha sarvairaham eva vedyo
Vedascha sarvairaham eva vedyo
Vedantri vedavid eva chaham
Vedanta krit Vedavit eva chaham Sarvasya,
Sarvasya
of all living beings,
of all living beings.
cha,
cha
and
And
aham,
aham
I,
I
hridi,
hridi
in the heart,
in the heart,
sanivishta,
sanivishta
being situated,
being situated.
mataha,
Mata
from me,
From me,
smriti,
smriti
remembrance,
remembrance,
jnanam,
jnana
knowledge,
knowledge
apohanam cha,
apohanam cha
and forgetfulness,
and forgetfulness.
vedai,
vedai
by the Vedas,
by the Vedas
cha,
cha
also,
also
sarvai,
sarvai
all,
all
aham,
aham
I am,
I am
eva,
eva
certainly,
certain,
vedya,
vedya
knowable,
no
Vedanta krit,
Vedanta krit
the compiler of the Vedanta,
the compiler of the Vedanta
Vedavit,
Vedavit
the knower of the Vedas,
the knower of the Vedas
eva,
eva
certainly,
certainly
cha,
cha
and
and
aham,
aham
I.
I
Translation: I am seated in everyone's heart, and from me come remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. By all the Vedas I am to be known. Indeed, I am the compiler of Vedanta, and I am the knower of the Vedas. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. The Supreme Lord is situated as Paramatma in everyone's heart, and it is from Him that all activities are initiated. The living entity forgets everything of his past life, but he has to act according to the direction of the Supreme Lord, who is witness to all his work. Therefore, he begins his work according to his past deeds, and required knowledge is supplied to him along with remembrance, and he forgets also about his past life. Thus, the Lord is not only all-pervading, he is also localized in every individual heart. He awards the different fruitive results. He is not only worshipable as the impersonal Brahman, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, or the localized Paramatma, but in the form of the incarnation of the Vedas as well. The Vedas give the right direction to the people so that they can mold their lives and come back to Godhead, back to home. The Vedas offer knowledge of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, And Krishna in his incarnation as Vyasadeva is the compiler of the Vedanta Sutra. The commentation on the Vedanta Sutra by Vyasadeva in the Srimad Bhagavatam is therefore the real understanding of Vedanta Sutra. The Supreme Lord is so full that for the deliverance of the conditioned soul, he is the supplier and digester of foodstuff, the witness of his activity, the giver of knowledge in the form of Vedas, and the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, the teacher of the Bhagavad Gita. He is worshipable by the conditioned soul. Thus, God is all good. God is all merciful. He is described in these words. Anta pravishta shasta jananam. The living entity forgets as soon as he quits his present body, but he begins his work again, initiated by the Supreme Lord. Although he forgets, the Lord gives him the intelligence to renew his work where he ended his last life. So not only does a living entity enjoy or suffer in this world according to the dictation from the Supreme Lord situated locally in the heart of everyone, but the Lord gives him the opportunity to understand Vedas. If one is serious to understand the Vedic knowledge, then the Lord gives him the required intelligence to understand it. Why does he present the Vedic knowledge for understanding? Because a living entity individually needs to understand Krishna. Vedic literature confirms this. Yo sao sarvai veda gyate. In all Vedic literature, beginning from the four Vedas, Vedanta Sutra and the Upanishads and the Puranas, the glories of the Supreme Lord are celebrated, and by performing Vedic rituals, discussing the Vedic philosophy, and worshipping the Lord in devotional service, he is attained. Therefore, the purpose of the Vedas is to understand Krishna. The Vedas give us direction to understand Krishna and the process of understanding. The ultimate goal is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Vedanta Sutra confirms this in the following words. Tattu samanvayat. One can attain perfection by a combination of three things. Through study of the Vedas, one can understand the relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. By performing the different processes, one can approach him. And at the end, one attains the supreme goal, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In this verse, however, the purpose of the Vedas, the understanding of the Vedas, and the goal of Vedas are clearly defined. Om Agyan Tirinandasya Jnanajana Shalakayam Sakshunan Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, and my spiritual master's divine grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, has opened my darkened eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisances unto his lotus feet. Jai Srila Prabhupada. In the Upanishads, it is mentioned that one who has firm faith in the spiritual master and Krishna, side by side, just like train tracks, simultaneously. For him, the purport of the Vedas is revealed. We may read some book of knowledge, or we might even memorize the passages from the book, but we might not necessarily understand the book. Just like a parrot, also he's repeating. He catches some sound and he reproduces in his parrot voice, but he doesn't understand what those words mean. So the purpose of the Vedas, or the understanding, the realization, or the meaning of the Vedas is very confidential. Very, very confidential. And one must be very sincere to understand this purpose. I don't know if you noticed, Prabhupada used the word initiated so many times in this purport. The Supreme Lord initiates the living entity from within the heart. Any activity that we do is initiated by Krishna from within the heart. You desire something, just like now you might have some desire. Oh, I want to be famous. I want to have money. So many things. So Krishna doesn't fulfill this desire immediately. It doesn't work like that. There's so many living entities, they also want to enjoy. So Krishna makes an order through the law of karma. One time you enjoy, and someone else has to suffer. And the other day, you suffer and they enjoy. Like that. Tit for tat. This is called karma. So in order to enjoy a specific pleasure, specific happiness, you have to qualify yourself. That's why the Vedas, they contain many passages for the fruitive actors, for the karmis. If you want to have a beautiful wife, then you worship Uma. Or the girls, they worship Lord Shiva to get a good husband. Lord Chaitanya, at one point, he disturbed the village girls in Navadip when he was a small boy. They were worshipping Shiva, offering something to Shiva, and Lord Chaitanya would snatch the offering and he would eat it himself. This was an indication that it is not necessary to worship the demigods. By the worship of Krishna, all the demigods are satisfied automatically. There are many passages in the Vedas for these fruitive workers, for the fruitive people, just to attract them to Krishna consciousness. Prabhupada mentions here in this word, in this verse, in this purport, that Krishna incarnates in the form of the Vedas. These Vedas, this is the incarnation of Krishna. Just like it is mentioned, the person Bhagavatam and the book Bhagavatam are one and the same. By serving the person Bhagavatam, who is a person Bhagavatam? A devotee who lives according to the principles of Srimad Bhagavatam. He is also Bhagavatam. He is a living Bhagavatam. Living Bhagavatam. You have the book Bhagavatam, and then you have the living Bhagavatam. All of us, we should become living Bhagavatams, that we live according to the tenets of the scripture, Srimad Bhagavatam. Then there is no difference between the Bhagavatam and the person Bhagavatam. By serving the person Bhagavatam, one becomes eligible to realize, to understand the book Bhagavatam. That's how it works. Bhaktyamam abhijanati, Krishna says, I can only be understood by devotional service. Not by sacrifice, not by austerities, not by Vedic study, not by learning Sanskrit, not by distributing 1 billion books in the streets. Although that would be very nice if someone distributed billions of books, then I take the dust of his feet on my head, definitely. But it is not like this. One has to develop pure service, pure love for Krishna. That is the confidential secret. Then Krishna, from within, initiates the understanding. Krishna reveals. That is called realization. We have dhyana, the theoretical knowledge. You can say parrot-like knowledge also. Analyzing, repeating. But then you have vijnana. Tad vijnanatam saguru meva vikachit. One must approach a bona fide spiritual master to get real knowledge, realized knowledge. So such a spiritual master also must be realized, completely realized. Not a parrot, simply repeating. Every acharya must exhibit his realization of the Shastra. Just like Lord Chaitanya and Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, they sat down. You know the story? Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya? Who is Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya? You do not know?
He's mentioned in the Chaitanya Charitamrita.
Yes. Who is he?
I don't know the gender.
He is the supervisor of the big Jagannath temple. When Lord Chaitanya came and he saw Lord Jagannath, he immediately fainted in ecstasy. There's a picture like that in the Bhagavatam. Lord Chaitanya is lying down, and there's Lord Jagannath, Baladev, Subhadra, just like we have here. When Lord Chaitanya saw Lord Jagannath, he immediately fainted. Here is my Lord. He could see directly. This nonsense people say, this is an idol. Why are you worshipping an idol? It is not an idol. This is the Lord Himself. Non-different from Krishna. Non-different from Krishna, who is the source of all the universes. Here we have. Unbelievable. Why? Because seemingly material elements like wood, paint, and so on, are also energy of Krishna. It's also energy of Krishna. So Krishna has that ability to change matter into spirit and spirit into matter. And that ability He has. Just like if a spiritual institution is not following the instruction of the founder Acharya, then Krishna has the ability to make the spiritual institution a material institution. He can make a devotee a mundane man. If he doesn't follow the principles, if he becomes disobedient, then he may wear a dhoti, tilak, he can shave his head 10 times a day. He is a mundane man. So Krishna has the ability. Similarly, Krishna can change the seemingly material elements into spiritual nature. That's why we have the deities, we're worshipping the deities. It's not different from the service to the Lord in the spiritual world. You always have to be mindful of this. We're in the presence of the Lord. That is why there are certain rules and regulations while we worship the deity. There are certain offenses to be avoided, certain behavior we should follow. For example, one should not hold his legs, his ankles, his knees like that. That is an offense. One should not lie down and sleep in front of the deity or eat. Even it might be prasadam. These are all forbidden. Because then we become over-familiar. We start thinking, oh, this is just... nothing happens to me. I'm not being punished. So it's okay. Krishna is not present there. Oh, He is present. But He's covering your consciousness. He's putting you into Mahamaya. Because you want that. So Lord Chaitanya, He could see immediately, this is the Lord, and He fainted. So Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was a Mayavadi. He was an impersonalist. He was in charge of Jagannath temple, but he was a Mayavadi. Just see. It doesn't mean that someone is worshipping the deity is necessarily a Vaishnava. There was another demon in Krishna Lila. His name was Jarasandha, right? Jarasandha was a Vishnu worshipper. Jarasandha or the other one, Kalayavan is not. So Jarasandha. Jarasandha it was a Vishnu worshipper. He was worshipping the deity of Vishnu every day. But he wanted to kill Krishna. Just see the contradiction. He's worshipping for material benefits, and when Krishna comes, he wants to kill him. We should not be like that. We should not kill Krishna by asking from Krishna material benedictions. That is as good as killing Krishna. Why is it killing? Because Krishna will cover your vision. Why the people cannot understand the purpose of the Vedas? Because their vision is covered by Mahamaya. Even in Sri Isopanishad, there's a prayer. Oh Lord, please remove that effulgence, the Brahman effulgence, so I can see your face. I'm not into this effulgence, the light. Some people say, oh, it's all light, God is light. Ishopanishad is mentioned. We don't want light. We want to see through the light, beyond the light. We want to see the facial expression of the Lord. So this matter actually is also Brahman. The material elements are also Brahman. The Brahman can act in two ways, spiritual or material. When you want to utilize the things for your sense gratification, it is matter. If you want to use it in the service of Krishna, that Brahman becomes spirit. Becomes spiritual, transcendental. So Lord Chaitanya, he fainted and Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, he found him. But Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was not a fool. It was not like the Mayavadis today. They have no philosophy. They take a little bit of the philosophy and then you little argue with them and they're finished. They have no answer. I was asking one Mayavadi recently on the discussion on YouTube that why Brahman has become many. Because their philosophy is that everything is one. There is no difference between you and me, and that's all one. If you see differentiation, that is Maya. So I asked him, why this Maya is here? Why we see different now? Huh? Do you see differently? I see differently. Who can deny this? Makanchar many times he cracks this trick with the Mayavadis. So if you and me are one, then your money is also mine. You give me your money. Don't protest. Put your money in your pocket. And he shows him his pocket. Very nicely. So then immediately he refuses to be a Mayavadi on the spot. He takes a break from the Mayavad philosophy. Because when this money is jeopardized, Prabhupada even says, although they say everything is Maya, they're very expert in enjoying in this Maya world. So I asked this question. You can also ask this when you meet a Mayavadi. Why Brahman has become many? If he is one, why there's many? Yeah, okay, we're God. Yeah, we're all God. For argument's sake, let's accept we're all God. But why we have forgotten that we're God? How can God forget? I don't remember that I'm God. I don't control the universe. I honestly say I'm not in charge. I have no idea what's on your mind. My consciousness is limited to my body. So that person, he couldn't answer anything. After a few exchanges, he said, forget it. He wrote, forget it. And that was the end. He was gone. So not like that. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was a great scholar of the Vedanta. Here was also mentioned. I am the compiler of the Vedanta, Krishna says. What is Vedanta? What is Vedanta? Do you know? Vedanta, you have heard the word Vedanta? What is it? It's some prasadam, eh? Some new prasadam, no? Vedanta? A nice cake, Vedanta, very delicious. No, this is the, you know, Mataji? You want to take a guess? Jai. Jai. So Vedanta means the end of knowledge, the final conclusion of knowledge. Srila Vyasadeva wrote 4 Vedas. What are these 4 Vedas? Rig Veda, Yajur Veda, Sama Veda, and Atharva Veda. Very good. So then he wrote the Puranas, the Upanishads, to break it down because it's very difficult, the 4 Vedas. Sometimes foolish people say, I am not interested in this Bhagavad Gita. I go to the source, I read the 4 Vedas. Oh yes, very nice. You go and study the Vedas, the 4 Vedas. You will not be able to finish your study for thousands of lifetimes. It is so complex. Out of their great mercy, the Acharyas have given us the conclusion. So we don't have to waste our time. And starting with Srila Vyasadeva himself, who is the author of the Vedas. He finally wrote the Vedanta Sutra. Vedanta Sutra is the conclusion of the Vedas in a codified form, in codes. Sutra means a code. Right? Just like you have a code for your Facebook. You put a code, right? And then everything opens up. Right? So similarly, the sutras are different codes and they open up the knowledge of the Vedas. And then Srila Vyasadeva, because even this was difficult, so he wrote the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is a natural commentary on the Vedanta Sutra. Right? Every day we study the Srimad Bhagavatam. So that is the Vedanta. That is the real Vedanta. Shankaracharya wrote the Sharira Kabasya. What is that? Sharira Kabasya. It's a commentary on the Vedanta Sutra by Shankaracharya, impersonal. Nonsense. Lord Chaitanya said, if you read this Sharira Kabasya, for 10,000 births you will not be able to take up the process of Krishna consciousness. It is such a poison. Oh, we should know what is Sharira Kabasya. You might be reading some book, maybe at night. You don't even know Sharira Kabasya. Next time you wake up and you're not a devotee anymore. So you have to be careful that you're not reading Sharira. You have to know what to avoid. So anyway, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, he was a great scholar of the Vedas. So Lord Chaitanya and Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, they sat down, and Lord Chaitanya encouraged Sarvabhauma to give his explanation of the Vedanta, to express his realizations. See, this is how the devotees meet also, or transcendentalists, doesn't matter. They sit down and everyone gives his realizations. So he was hearing for 7 days in a row. Lord Chaitanya didn't say a word. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya had so much to say. If I give a class, I can go on maybe for an hour max. Then I run out. Then they have to tell me to be quiet and go take prasadam. But Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was a real scholar. They read the Vedas, not 2 pages before going to bed, but the whole day they read. They learn all the Sanskrit and everything. So he has something to say. But Lord Chaitanya, at the end, he smashed him. He smashed him very nicely. There is this Atmaram Shloka. Lord Chaitanya explained the Atmaram Shloka, and Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, he became very impressed. He had never heard such explanation, the Vaishnava explanation. Then later on he had darshan of Chaturbhuja, the form of Krishna. What is Chaturbhuja? Do you know? No? Chaturbhuja. What is Chatur? Chaturvida Sri Bhagavat Prasadam. Every day we chant. What does it mean? Huh? Sadpuja? Maybe 2.
6.
Maybe 2 or... Oh, right. Okay, sorry. Sadpuja. The sixth form of... sixth armed form of Krishna. Lord Chaitanya, Lord Ramachandra, and Lord Krishna. With the flute, with the
Bowl.
with the bowl,
Bowl.
with the bowl, like Lord Ramachandra,
Begging bowl.
and the begging pot. Okay, so even I don't know. Anyway, so then he had the darshan, and then he became a devotee. He surrendered on the spot. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. So every acharya also, he expresses his realizations. And not just the acharyas, but every disciple. We must read the books with analytical minds. Prabhupada says, this is maybe you have noticed this, but this is very important. See, Krishna gives us the intelligence from within. He gives us intelligence, knowledge, remembrance, forgetfulness. So then Prabhupada is playing the devil's advocate. Why does he present the Vedic knowledge? For understanding. What is the use of the Vedas? If Krishna is in the heart and he gives us all the knowledge, why do we need to study the Vedas? So the answer is, because a living entity individually needs to understand Krishna. So deep, such a deep meaning in this purport. Prabhupada says, everyone needs to individually understand Krishna. Individually. You have to understand. It's not blind. You have to understand who is Krishna. Otherwise, who are you serving? We're serving, but we don't know who is serving. We don't know what is pleasing to Krishna, what is not pleasing. We don't know who Krishna is. We don't know the purpose of our service. Well, everyone has to individually understand. That's why Krishna gave the Bhagavad Gita. That is why it is important to hear. Krishna says to Arjuna, Tatshanu, you hear from me. Hear me. If you don't hear me, you will be misguided by the false ego. See, Krishna gives inspiration from within. Yes, we hear sometimes. We know it for sure. But there's also false ego, the mind, also rascal, sponge mind, is getting all kinds of nonsense ideas, sucking in. And then these ideas, they manifest in the minds in a very inappropriate times. Just like when you chant japa, right? Sometimes a nonsense thought comes. So if you don't hear regularly, then you can become misguided. In my heart I feel like this. Many times people say, oh, this Krishna consciousness, it is not my thing. I don't feel it. It's just not my thing. They say like that. So they're being misguided by the mind. How is it not your thing? This is the original consciousness of every living entity, Krishna consciousness. It's a revolutionary idea. Revolutionary. That this is not a religion. This is the consciousness of every living entity, not just humans, but also plants, animals, all living entities. They're all Krishna conscious. But that consciousness becomes manifested or covered according to the circumstances, according to the desire. When you have a desire to get out of this material world, Krishna arranges the circumstances in your life in such a way that you can take it up very nicely. Krishna arranges, just like he arranges for your material desire to be fulfilled. You have a desire, then you have to qualify yourself. That gives you opportunity. Now you work hard. You want to be famous? Okay, now you go and work hard. Like the Beatles, the most famous band in the world. They were working so hard, playing in Germany in the early days. They're playing 6, 7, 8 hours straight in these low-class clubs in Germany. They were working so hard. Then they became big. So Krishna gave him the opportunity. You have to qualify, not free. You have to qualify yourself. And then they enjoyed the fame and the wealth and whatever. So similarly, if you have a desire to get out of this existence and develop real love, with Krishna it is a real love. It is not a cheating love. It's the real love. These loving relationships we have here, these are just like reflections. Reflections, the shadows. It's not the real thing. But from the reflection you can understand the reality. You can relate. Oh, okay, it is so nice to love someone. But it could be nicer if that someone is Krishna, eternal lover who will never betray you. So when you have that desire, then Krishna will give you intelligence in two ways. From within as the super soul, from the outside as the spiritual master and the scriptures. Just like this Bhagavad Gita. Someone asked Prabhupada that if Krishna wanted us to surrender, then he would make the arrangement. So he made the arrangement. He gave the Bhagavad Gita. He made that arrangement. So you surrender. But it is up to you. Everyone has to individually understand who is Krishna and individually surrender. I cannot surrender for you. Srila Prabhupada cannot surrender for you. Only you can surrender your false ego and take up Krishna consciousness seriously. So I'll stop here. Are there any questions? Are you checking the live stream?
Yes,
There might be some questions.
The Bhakta Ramin.
Bhakta Ramin, yes. Hare Krishna Prabhu.
he just put in comments. No, I worship Shiva as my Siksha Guru. He has given me many blessings to remove karma that was blocking God consciousness. Lord Shiva is the greatest Vaishnava.
Yes.
He is not any ordinary materialistic demigod.
No.
In India, I was chanting Hare Krishna next to Shiva Lingam, and when I returned, I was guided to a Shiva temple that I have visited for last 3 years.
Okay.
Also, YouTube World, another one says, I know, thank you. I'm Hindu. I love Rama and Krishna gods. They started to. Bhaktaron says there is only one God. Vishnu is equal to Rama, Rama is equal to Krishna.
Yeah.
And YouTube World, you know, Sri Saila, well, they are like talking.
Okay. Alright. There's no question.
I would ask about this individually understand.
Yeah.
Because it basically comes to the same. Like the question is why Krishna, if he reveals from the heart,
Yeah.
why there are the Vedas? So then Prabhupada says because everyone has to individually understand.
Yeah.
But it kind of comes to the same idea. Well, I need to understand individually so Krishna can individually reveal himself to me. Why there are the Vedas.
No, but individual means that you have to take the initiative to learn it. He can reveal, but you have to understand him. There's a difference.
You have to have the desire.
Yeah.
But because you covered, you have to have it from outside source.
Yeah. Yeah, it's two. It's two. It works too. Like you read the scripture, and the realization of the scripture is triggered by the super soul. That is the diksha.
Yeah, but this is the question still. If, let's say I have the desire.
And vice versa. Sometimes you might have some feeling or some realization, but you have to confirm it with the scripture. Because there might be some speculation also. So both are required. You have to listen to your heart, but at the same time you have to hear from the scripture and the Guru. Yeah.
Well, someone would go on with this, that.
Yeah.
But if I have the desire, then Krishna can reveal because I have the desire. Why do I have to go the long way, studying and tapasya and this and that?
No, you don't have to. Krishna revealed to Brahma. Brahma didn't have any Vedas, so it is possible. If you qualified, it is also possible.
But it's not a regular course of happenings.
No, but it is possible. We have Srila Prabhupada, we follow Srila Prabhupada, who is giving us these books. If someone is following Srila Prabhupada, you can't just all of a sudden say, well, I have a different process. And how I follow it different. Even Prabhupada doesn't say that I follow it differently. That is not, then don't say that you follow Prabhupada.
No, then you're nonsense because first you go to Prabhupada,
Yeah.
you're studying,
Yeah.
and then Prabhupada says that Krishna can reveal from the heart.
Yeah.
Someone says, Krishna actually reveals from the heart, so now I don't need.
Yeah,
Why
Prabhupada
didn't he-
says that, but
why
he
did
also
he-
says that you can become misguided.
Why didn't he reveal before?
Yeah.
Why did you have to read the books to find out?
Yeah. These are nonsense arguments. Yes, Mataji, you wanted to ask?
Yeah. Y si Krishna se revela Fernando.
No, que si uno solo lo puede entender a través.
Del servicio devocional.
O también el servicio, y también el servicio devocional a Dios, o también el servicio devocional a Dios.
That if one can entender, if one can understand Krishna through the Vedas, just through devotional service.
No, o sea, o también.
Also in devotional service.
The The question is, should he exclusively read the Vedas, or he must read the Vedas and render service? Which one of these is the correct path? Is that the question?
Second one, she said.
What is the second one?
O sea, que la de Krishna y frente al servicio. O sea, eso te ayuda a mejorar más tu conocimiento de entender a Krishna.
That rendering service help you to understand more to Krishna.
Yeah. Not help you, but that's the only way how you can understand Krishna. By service. Because Krishna has to become pleased. He is in the heart. It's a cooperation. Like you can study. Just like Prabhupada says, the scientists, they make an experiment. I'm not sure if Prabhupada says this, but I read this in this book by Sadaputa, one of the scientists, disciples of Prabhupada. The scientists are making an experiment. Every day he's making it. It's not successful. He's making experiment. And then all of a sudden, he has an inspiration. Oh, let me put this chemical there. And then, success. So who gives that inspiration? Who gives him the idea? Krishna. Right? Krishna gives him that inspiration. So, when we read the Vedas, we can read the Vedas, but unless Krishna gives us the inspiration, we won't be able to understand the conclusion of the Vedas.
Krishna says, Bhakti Mama Vijanati, not
Yeah.
Jnana Mama Vijanati.
Yeah.
It's like devotional service. You have devotees who are illiterate, they can't read. Gura Kishore Babaji was illiterate, he wasn't studying.
Yeah.
But he was a Bhagavad.
Krishna reveals. You read, but then when you please Krishna, you get a revelation. That's like sometimes you might be chanting kirtan. Now you have the experience already doing so many kirtan. So sometimes the kirtan is not so pleasing. Sometimes it's a struggle. We're tired or so many things. And sometimes it is very ecstatic. The same kirtan, nothing changes. Same devotees, the same circumstance. So in the same way, and when you're ecstatic, everything is like, everything clicks. You understand, oh okay, it's like this, everything works. But if there's a struggle, then you start to doubt, well actually, is this process working? You see? So your whole consciousness, according to your consciousness, your realization changes. That's why we call it Krishna consciousness. That is the most important. We're cultivating, purifying our consciousness ultimately. So when we please Krishna, then we're also happy, we're ecstatic. If we displease Krishna, then if we make offenses, then the taste drops. And the realization also is covered. It's not like a mundane knowledge. Mundane knowledge, like you take these tutorials about Adobe Premiere or something. You just follow the steps 1, 2, 3, 4, mechanical. But it's not like okay, thank you, bro. But Krishna, realizing Krishna, understanding Krishna is not a mechanical process. So we must hear, but not with the idea of collecting knowledge, collecting so we can be big professors at the universities teaching Vaishnavism. No, we reading just so we are rendering service, properly. We want to know about Krishna, how to serve Him as much as possible so we can improve our service, purify our consciousness like that. Does it make sense? Yeah. Okay. So what else? Okay, Abhijit, I remember Abhijit from Facebook, he even donated to our temple. Thank you, Prabhu. Bhakta Robin is very active. He says, I was reading Srila Prabhupada pastimes, how Prabhupada screamed at one Indian Mayavadi student, if all is one, why are you not wearing cotton ball instead of cotton shirt? That's a good one. Okay, Robin, why don't you come for Nashingadev on the 18th? Come, take a plane. Take a plane. It's cheap. If you can find a very cheap ticket. On the 18th, we have a nice festival here. You can stay with us as much as you like, and we're gonna have a nice celebration of Nashingadev. Be nice to see you also in person. We can have a nice kirtans and we can give you nice prasadam also. Something to think about. Okay, he says, I have no money. I am saving up money for India. In 2 months I will go to India for 6 months. Oh, why you have to go to India? You can go to Spain. It's closer. You have India here. Wherever there's temple of Krishna following Srila Prabhupada is as good as India, as good as Vrindavan. Why we go to the holy places? To associate with the devotees. That is the only purpose. So anyway. Okay. Krantara Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Nitai Gora Premanandi, Hari 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 Bo. Namo Vishnu Paraya Krishna Vishnaye Bhutri Srimad Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nidhamani Namaste Saraswati Devi Guru Bhagavata Chari Kanyani Shri Shri Thank you for watching. Hare Krishna.